Ole, we're back with our panel. We've got Beth Martens joining us along with Cody Snodgres today. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good, thank you.
Really well, thank you.
Good.
Cody, you all right?
Yeah.
It's been a really wild time right now, obviously here in the United States and elsewhere around the world. People were shocked to learn that Donald Trump has contracted coronavirus. You know, to accommodate the international schedules, we're pre-recording this show. So if anything dramatic happens that we don't address, that's the reason for that. But as of today, Donald Trump's published a video. He seems to be recovering at Walter Reed Medical Center. But you know, Beth, a lot of people who watch Crowdsource the Truth have been feeling like it's remarkably coincidental timing for Donald Trump and so many Senate Republicans to contract coronavirus all at once. We've got Nancy Pelosi clamoring to, stop this, Senate approval of the Supreme Court justice. They're even talking about how this could impact the election. I know you have a lot of experience with targeted individuals. Do we think there's any possibility that this was a deliberate infection of President Trump?
Well, it's suspicious, isn't it? The timing, as you're talking about, and it's also confusing because when I first was reading about it, they were saying that he was asymptomatic, that it was just a positive test, and then all of a sudden he's in the hospital, and it does start to look a little more nefarious, as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Ole, what's the word like in Europe?
I have no idea. I live in my small little bubble here, but it's on that level. Smoke and mirrors is the word of the game, or the name of the game, and in these areas, it's so hard to know what's actually going on, because just like you say, it could be this, it could be the other, the timing is very interesting. And I also want to talk a little bit later about some very explosive news regarding the sinking of MS Estonia, who also came at this exact point, in time. Something that has been shut down. I mean, I and others have been trying for, it's since 1994. It's 25 years, 26, something like that. And so exactly now, suddenly they released this whole thing about, yes, it was blown up. Yes, they showed hold of the,
wow.
And the governments are going on the, they're disappearing from the map. Everything is happening. And it was released this Monday. So that is,
wow.
What is that? Last Monday, that is the exact end of September, beginning of October. So this is explosive news because there was almost 1,000 people killed, officially 852, but there were more people on board. And so the governments in the Baltic countries and Sweden have totally denied that there was anything else than an accident. Also, they've been refusing to dive down there. I mean, the vessel is down on, it's only like between 60 and 80 meters deep, so it's nothing, almost an amateur. You could free dive down there if you're good, and there've been divers down there seeing the bodies, and still the governments refuse to bring the bodies home, which has caused incredible trauma among hundreds of families here in all of these different countries. Plus that the governments around the Baltic Sea, including Sweden, I think Poland as well, have made this law saying that it's illegal to dive down on this ship. You are not allowed, and they have military vessels out there that have been scaring people off. I mean, it's a massive operation here. And then just this very Monday, last week here, there was a documentary on TV5, Channel 5 in Denmark, in Sweden, that shows very clearly that there's a massive injury or damage to the side of the hull of this ship on the starboard side. Do you say starboard? In English, starboard side, where it is massive. It's like 4 meters times 2 meters, the injury or the damage to this vessel. But the thing is, in these times, you have to ask yourself, first of all, what's going on here. The diversion, the timing, perfect, just like with the Trump here. It's the identical timing. So is that just a coincidence? It could be, or is there agenda behind it? They're sending down like a little filmed robot, underwater
Rover,
robot. Yeah, exactly, a robe. And it goes down there and it's filming the side of the ship and it shows this damage. But I'm like this, is it that ship? You know, you can easily manipulate. So we have to take a little step back and see, okay, depending on why this is being released now, could it be real? And I think it is real, and I really hope so, because this has put a flamethrower up the butt for a lot of politicians who have been part of covering this up, you know, on so many years that these families have been devastated, and it's been they even plan to cover the whole ship. I mean, it's a massive ferry, massive, and they wanted to cover it with concrete. Ooh. Because they said because of the sanctuary of a graveyard. But that would be like having a minefield and barbed wire on a normal cemetery, you know. And this is out in the middle of the Baltic Sea. No, but the reason for that was because there was on this ship this day there were 2 military trucks with illegal military equipment. Some of it highly radioactive. So the covering of this whole thing was because of the radioactivity. But I've got photos of the explosives from some of the first dives down there that are still there, because that it didn't detonate the way it should. There was only, it seems like there were 2 explosives that went off, but the rest of them, because they were placed with magnetic plates on the side of the ship, they didn't detonate. So I've got photos of them in my book, Coup d'etat in Slow Motion, and the whole thing. Even one of the Swedish politicians, who's a Bilderberger, her name is Mona Sahlin, she said when they showed this on the late night news here in Sweden, she said, well, yes, we are aware of the explosives, but we haven't been able to see what that would have to do with the accident, so we haven't looked into it. Whoa. It's like, are you? Yeah. So I thought, but this was years and years and years ago. So I thought after that, now this whole thing is going to explode in media on an international basis. They've just shown on national TV the footage and film footage of these explosives, and the whole thing is out there. Nothing. There was 0 the very next day. 0. I mean 0. So there's this massive cover-up where the West is deeply involved. It's MI6 CIA as usual, because this ferry was used as a smuggle route from the east to the west through neutral Sweden, you know, where they were. This was at a time in 1994 when Estonia had been freed from Russia. And so the Russians were leaving, going home, and left behind masses of arms and tanks and submarines, atomic submarines, all kinds of stuff. And this was what was being It was taken apart with the help of, it was with the help of an American colonel called Alexander Einzel, who has an Estonian background. Anyway, he went over there, and Sweden went there as well, helping to take all of these things apart. And then they just disappeared, you know, in different areas for the highest bidder and so on. And this ferry was part of the smuggle route. So anyway, I thought the timing of now with Trump as well, it's like, what is going on here? And I think we have no idea, absolutely no idea.
Wow, that is fascinating, Ole. You know, you were the first person to tell me about this, and you and Cody and I had done a whole show on it. I'm looking for it right now to try to share with people, and I can't find it in the YouTube archives. I'm sure it's in there. Do you remember when we did that thing about the Estonia?
I'm pretty sure it's been shut down. I mean, normally when I do shows like that, they get shut down. Estonia is super sensitive.
And it's something that most people in the United States haven't heard about. I'm going to search through the videos and make sure that's in our playlist for Light on Conspiracies. I don't know, I haven't really publicized that very much, but we're right now doing our YouTube preview for the sponsor exclusive show that's going to be available to people in just about 15 minutes on patreon.com/lightonconspiracies, as well as subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. But most of the videos that we've done, Ole, these YouTube previews, people can go back and view them all. There's a playlist on the Jason Goodman YouTube channel that I thought had all of our videos in there, but I'm not seeing this one about the MSS Estonia and the tragic accident that caused it to sink. I'll make sure it's on there. But, so Beth, Cody, what do we think about this revelation of the USS Estonia suddenly having a break at this moment?
Well,
go ahead, Cody.
go ahead. I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
you go ahead. Absolutely. It's news to me.
Okay, well, it's good to be with you guys. It's a privilege and an honor to be here with all of you, and especially Beth. I know you've been going through a lot of stuff, being a whistleblower kind of on the Sandy Hook. And Ole's teaching me a lot of
Sorry, Cody, that's a misunderstanding here.
Yeah, that's Rebecca. This is Beth. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. I was thinking
Yeah,
something I didn't know there.
Yeah. But anyway, it's good to be with you guys. And the timing of this, the Trump supposed COVID, I'm very skeptical. I don't know that Donald Trump has COVID. I saw it on the news. I don't know that those Republican senators have COVID. They say they tested positive. I don't trust the news. I don't know what is really going on. Some people here have suggested that maybe it's some kind of Republican ploy, right before the election, and that nobody has COVID. But I don't know. I'm like Ole. There's so much disinformation, and the Estonia thing breaking right now, like it is very suspicious timing, because October, we all know, it's an occult month. The Illuminati, the New World Order people who have their demonic or satanic underpinning, they do plan false flag events around power days and around certain things, as Ole's talked about. They leave clues. And right now we're coming into one of the most powerful months for them in October. And so it's a perfect time for an October surprise or some type of propaganda campaign or something. It's just very difficult, like Ole says, to trust anything unless you can corroborate. I have no evidence that Donald Trump actually had COVID. I don't know. It just seems real, like Rebecca says, this whole thing seems very suspicious, and the Estonia thing, everything together is very suspicious to me.
Right.
There's also the possibility that since we're getting very close to the elections, that he fears that he will be taken out. So he goes into hiding, but undercover that it's the corona. But actually what he's doing is getting himself off the radar and out of the crosshairs of possible assassination attempts. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that way. Sorry, Beth.
I was just going to say, is it true? I was researching it a little bit last night that there's rumors going around and an image of Trump laying in his coffin that was generated by Simpsons. I was searching around it. It's actually a Simpsons episode from 3 years ago, but nonetheless, they do some predictive programming well in advance, right? You nailed it there. And
Wow.
There's lots of denial around the image, saying that this has actually just been generated right now as some kind of fear porn for the American public. But it is actually an episode, so it's out there, and it's come. They're sending it into the forefront now.
Wow.
I just want to point out, as you remember, Dick Gregory, an amazing researcher. Before he died, he said he's the one who's claiming that there's actually two Trumps, one with a red tie, one with a blue tie, that they're not. And so it's interesting that it's the red tie guy here in the coffin. Whatever that means, I'm not sure.
Dick Gregory says there are 2 Donald Trumps.
Yeah, he did indeed.
Wow.
Just write Dick Gregory and 2 Trumps. You will find it. Like, there are 2 Donald Trumps. There you go. Did you just scroll past it?
Well, but it's Pinterest, and it's a little difficult to get to the. I mean, this is just something somebody posted. Shares his thoughts.
Many world leaders do have doubles. You know, Saddam Hussein had doubles, and it's very possible that we could be seeing a double of Donald Trump. There may be, like Ole said, undisclosed assassination attempts or bombs found or something that the public hasn't been made aware of. There's usually things going on underneath the surface that come out later, but right now we simply don't know. There's not enough information out there.
Right. Well, and of course, when Jamal Khashoggi was assassinated, we saw a body double literally on surveillance video walking out of the Saudi embassy in Istanbul. So it's pretty well known that these body doubles are utilized. 2 Trumps. I wonder.
What can I say? I have no idea. I don't know.
Well,
they look pretty similar.
Yeah, exactly. If they're lookalikes, they look alike. But the thing is, we've drifted a bit from our topic of targeted individuals that we wanted to discuss, and we're going to be discussing that when the sponsor-exclusive segment begins in just under 10 minutes on patreon.com/lightonconspiracies and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. If Trump is targeted, I think we kind of know why. But Beth, what are we going to be discussing with regard to other targeted individuals on the sponsor-exclusive show?
I was inspired to talk about this, first of all, watching you last night and walking through the streets of New York City and literally being almost physically attacked the moment that you realized someone was right behind you. You turned on them. And, it's not an isolated incident. I have received attacks, colleagues. I've actually been on the phone with the Montreal police and the RCMP, and the local police showed up here for me to report somebody. I ended up on their radar. It's a podcaster out of Montreal, apparently. We have his address and his phone number, just tracking him through PayPal addresses and PayPal accounts. And, he just takes it upon himself to go and hate these people and then broadcast hours and hours and hours of how he's going to do awful things to them. I actually had the police in right here watching the video, the worst of what was shown to me in terms of violent intentions. And the police said, there is nothing we can do. Zero.
Wow.
Yeah, they were very clear. Even they were fans of Joe Rogan already. There was a little bit of light coming in, as if I don't know if you consider that light or not. Yes, or one of them was, yeah. It was just very clear that people really can target in that respect. Until the violent act happens, there's no crime, right? So this guy, we reported him on YouTube like crazy, and of course they give him a strike for a week. All he does is create a new channel and keep streaming to the new channel for that week, and then go back to it. And so it's a problem. At the same time, it's almost, I would prefer that over censorship. But as we know, censorship is rampant. They won't censor this guy, but they will censor the truth.
It's amazing how that happens, Beth. I've had similar problems, and I've dealt with the police, and they've said essentially the same thing. Until somebody bashes your head in, they don't really seem to care. Not to digress, but just real quickly before we're done here on YouTube, I want to make sure everybody knows, you know what? It's the reason why I wasn't able to find the Estonia video, Ole, is because I don't know if we were doing our YouTube previews at that time. The Estonia video can be found on Patreon and Subscribestar. It's called Light on Conspiracies with Ole Dammegard and special guest Cody Snodgres. Was the sinking of the MS Estonia a black op? And so people can watch that and learn all about the Estonia. But back to what you were saying, Beth, I've had basically the exact same thing happened. People have come here to this apartment, show the address, the live chat says, dox that Jew, kill that Jew. Really astounding stuff that you would think a cyber crimes division of a police department might take some interest in to try to prevent crime rather than wait until a crime happens and then come to my funeral to tell my parents, oh, we think we might know who did this. So
Exactly.
It's a vexing problem.
Exactly. And I'd like to talk in the next segment on Patreon about how to take it into your own hands, since calling the police doesn't have a really good effect. Then how do you actually start to deal with this? And it's from the inside out. To and it's never to blame anybody that's being targeted, but what is that it's partly because you're sticking your neck out and you're the tall poppy and they can chop your head off pretty easy. But I think there's things that we sign up for, certain levels of targeting. Ole, you've been attacked like crazy. Your website is taken down every 5 minutes, it seems. What is that for those of us that signed up for some targeting? How to deal with it in the very best way, and how it shows up, I think, at every level of society, from the family to the highest levels of politics, as we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Ole, you've been targeted, of course. Any thoughts on what Beth is saying? I'm certainly going to be interested to see this show.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, it's always very hard to advise anyone, since I don't have answers for myself, even how to protect myself. But I'm sure we can help each other find ways. So I'm very much looking forward to this conversation.
And Cody,
Nice.
You've been targeted by some really rough customers. You've even suffered injuries. We're about to see the attack from last night. As I walk down the street, the guy can be seen aggressively accelerating, reaching out to grab me or strike me. Luckily, I saw him in the rear view camera. I had some choice New York words for these guys. But Cody, how do you deal with these attacks?
Well, we deal with them in a covert fashion. We never ever call the police, and sometimes, I've done things. I've been attacked out here and done things, and I don't talk about them. And we win. I'm still alive, and so if people commit acts of violence against you, like this guy coming up behind you, or they're going to commit an act of violence, I have no problem with committing violence against them to stop them. I never initiate violence, but on a higher level, on a spiritual level or psychic level, a lot of times you can feel attackers coming to you if you're tuned in. And then sometimes the attacks are good, like when they electronically harass us and they click the phones off and they introduce static and a variety of electronic harassment techniques. Then the audience can see, and it actually piques the audience interest, like, wow, this targeting stuff's really real. And it kind of works against the deep state in some cases. But for physical violence, we're well-trained, highly trained black operators, and all I can say is I'm not at liberty to discuss what we have done, but believe me, we have had some attacks, and we did thwart them.
Right, yeah, and it's understandable that you can't talk about it too much in detail. It's also worth mentioning that just this past weekend, he's been out of the public view for the most part recently, but Rick Moranis is a pretty well-known actor from Ghostbusters and other classic movies. He was attacked just walking into his apartment building at 7:30 in the morning, I think on Friday or Saturday. He's kind of a tiny little guy, punched in the head randomly by some person just walking down the street. As far as I know, the police are still looking for him. This guy loves New York, and he loves punching actors in the head. So it's dangerous out here on the streets.
Can I just ask you to scroll up again?
Yep.
If you look at that image, it's like, okay, what does that show you? You always have the color code of, when it's the George Soros operations, it's magenta or deep purple. And here we have a person on a bicycle that just passes with the exact color code, plus plus the bicycle. Do you remember we went from shoes to bicycles? So I'm
Yes.
like, okay, so what is this? It's like always take a step back and say, whoa, wait, because that color is so distinct. It's not a discrete color. It even if you look at the poster at the pole, the color will affect you. Boom. So what is that? Is it a psyop? Is it real? Is it part of the operation? Is it I don't know. But that color and deep purple, that they really say red light to me.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that could be the case. Who knows who's motivating people to just randomly punch somebody as they walk down the street? But this is happening, and here we see the video footage. The guy just walks right up to Rick Moranis and totally punches him. He crumbles like a bag of potatoes. Pretty bad.
But yeah, if it's true, pretty bad. It looks very staged as well, if you ask me. I mean, there's no adrenaline. He walks very slowly away. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, we're just about out of time here, and we can carry on the conversation in under 5 minutes when people join us on patreon.com/lightonconspiracies and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. It's the beginning of the month, so now is the perfect time to sponsor the show. It's super important that we have your support and sponsorship. This is viewer-sponsored news reporting, so without you guys, we can't carry on. And thanks so much to the generous sponsors who are with us. We'll see everybody in just a few minutes. Thanks for watching.